All right, this is a really simple spot where we can catch tench, gibbocarp, and crucian carp really well, especially when you're just starting out at Old Burg. That means using a basic setup with simple bait at a relatively easy and safe location to catch some small fish. And there we go already. I've got 3 different baits in the water right now just to test things out. A few days ago, I tried something much more complicated here with the zig rig, and that also worked really well. I used a cream-colored zig rig with milk cream as a dip, but honestly, you don't need anything that complicated. And most importantly, as a beginner at Old Burg, you probably don't even have gear like that. What you do have are maggots, maybe some of the first dough baits, worms, simple stuff like that. And that's all you need to start fishing here. Right now, on this setup, I've got a single maggot on the hook, and the first fish already grabbed it. A really nice one, a 3.7 kilo tench. That's a solid start. Let's see what's happening on the other rods. This one was just nibbling. I've got honey dough on here. And on the third rod, I'm using corn. We'll take a closer look at everything in a bit, and of course, we'll test some other baits as well. There are a lot of bait options that work great here, especially if you're using a small setup and just want to see what's effective. The good thing about this spot is that even if the fish get a bit bigger, we can still guide them, and in most cases, land them safely. We've got the island in front of us, and if we angle the fish towards it or position ourselves so it swims in that direction, it'll head into an open, safe area. Then we can follow it, fight it, and tire it out. You always want to guide fish away from completely open water. If they get too far out, you'll end up chasing them forever. Of course, there's always the chance that a big amur or a large common carp takes the bait, and that can make things a lot harder, especially if you're using a small setup. You might end up fighting that fish for ages. And here we go. Next fish. Another tench, caught just on a maggot. Perfect. Just a 6-meter cast and boom, fish on. Like I said, there's always a chance that a big common carp or an amur will bite. If that happens, make sure your drag is set correctly and your setup can handle it. Now let's take a look at my setup. We'll start from the bottom because that's the most important part. The gear I'm using up top might be interesting, but you probably don't have these rods and reels yet. So let's focus on the basics. Chances are you've got a simple maggot bait and a size 6 hook. The exact hook shape doesn't really matter, but the quality should be decent. Now let's talk about leader materials. Should you use one or not? Let's check it out. So let's build a really basic beginner setup. If you're just starting out, you probably only have monofilament line. The problem with mono is that it doesn't hold much line on the reel. For example, my small 3000 size reel only fits 108 meters of monofilament. That's not a lot. If your reel has such a low line capacity, fishing here might not be the best idea. You might want to stick to winding rivulet or mosquito lake for now. But if you do want to come to Old Burg, I recommend switching to braided line. Braided line has a big advantage. It's much thinner and stronger. For example, I can fit 158 meters of braid on my reel, compared to just 108 meters of mono. The downside? Braided line is very visible, so it can scare fish. That's why we use a fluorocarbon leader. Here we've got different fluorocarbon options. I'm using one rated for around 7 kilograms, which is perfect for tench. Let's go with this 7.7 kilogram leader. Next, same size 6 hook. Why? Because that's the biggest hook that still works with maggots. If you check the info panel, you'll see maggots work with hooks from size 24 to size 6, so we use the biggest hook possible to improve our chances of catching larger fish. Now, let's make sure our drag is set correctly. Oh wait, something's pulling. Gotta set my line clip to 6 meters. There we go. This fish is putting up a good fight, which is always a good sign. It's better to start with a looser drag than one that's too tight, because you can always increase it if needed. The goal is to steer the fish toward the island instead of letting it escape into open water. If we want it to move left, we tilt the rod slightly to the right and vice versa. All right, let's see what we've got here. Could be an amur, could be a common carp. That's always a risk when using corn. That's something to keep in mind. Certain baits attract fish you might not want. I'm currently working on a new, more detailed tutorial series where I'll explain all of this step by step. How to fight fish properly, how to build setups, which baits work best for which species, and much more. It's a deep topic, but those videos will be coming in the next few weeks. But for now, let's focus on this fish. It's moving toward the other side of the island, so I have to follow it. Always keep an eye on the tension. If it gets too high, stop reeling for a second so you don't break your line. All right, after about 5 minutes, the fish is finally getting tired. The bigger the fish, the longer the fight. Be extra careful near the end. Fish often make last-minute moves. Never increase your drag at this stage. If anything, loosen it a bit to be safe. And there it is, a beautiful 10 kilograms common carp caught just on corn. That was a tough fight, but totally worth it. This setup is meant for fish around 6 to 7 kilograms, so this was definitely a challenge. Now, I'm switching back to the size 6 hook with a maggot because that's been working well. There's a lot more content coming soon, including full English language tutorials. My main channel, Feierabend TV, is in German, and I've been sharing videos with English subtitles for years. Now, with AI translation, I'm making even more content available in English. If this video helped you, leave a like and subscribe. It really helps out. Also, the tutorial series is launching soon, so stay tuned. That was quite a fight. A 10 kilograms fish is great, but not really what I was aiming for. If you're mainly after tench, you don't need such a heavy setup. Ground bait also helps a lot. If you don't know how to make ground bait yet, no worries, but it's definitely useful. Tench ground bait is pretty simple: cornmeal, breadcrumbs, and hemp seed oil. But hemp oil only unlocks at ground bait crafting level 5. If you're lower level, bream ground bait with anise oil unlocks at level 3, which is easier to reach. So if you're just starting out, night fishing for bream might actually be the better option. For now, I'm going to keep fishing here and testing different baits. If this guide helped you, leave a like and subscribe. And if you want to watch me live, I stream Russian Fishing 4 every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on Twitch.